Hi, everyone. I'm really excited to finally talk to one of my, I don't know how to put it, favorite guests that I really want to interview for a long time. Today, we have Dr. Kelly Schuh with us. And she's all obviously overseas. She's not in Australia, although I think she have clients in Australia. But we met a while back and I just connected with her and I really want her to come on to my podcast interview. So here we go. We have Dr. Kelly today. Welcome.
Thank you. Hello, hello.
So, first of all, let me do a very quick introduction for my audience who may not have heard of Dr. Kelly Schuh, but actually, many of you may have know her if you have been around. Especially with women in business, online business. You may have actually heard her or heard her speak, or maybe even went to one of her programs before. But so, short introduction. So, Dr. Kelly Schuh is a worth and wealth alchemist for female coaches, consultants, and visionaries. She's the sales whisperer and Amazon best-selling author, speaker, and Yahoo Finance top biz coach for 2021. So, woohoo! That's a really great, great thing. Um, and in 2009, she pioneered the sacred sisterhood of Pink 10 International, now over 14,000 strong. The first women's online community of its kind. Her body of work has been featured on so many media outlets like Jamie Foxx, Foxhole Radio, Pop Sugar Magazine, Fox 31 TV Channel 2, and many other media outlets. So I'm really excited to talk to her about many things today. So welcome again.
Thank you. So happy to be here.
So first of all, when I was preparing for the interview, I was really curious about, or like really stuck by the hashtag Queen of Worth. I really like it because there's the sense of, not just a woman or a girl, a queen, someone who have confidence and certainty. I feel like I'm interviewing a real royalty in that sense. And I think it's something also talk about women's courage and saying that using this hashtag, it's something. So first of all, what inspired you to create this sassy hashtag and sisterhood? And maybe tell us a little bit about your story leading up to this emergence, I call it.
Yes. So Queen of Worth. So Queen of Worth really came from this place of my own discovery around self-worth, especially as it relates to money and sales and even love. I think many years ago when I was trying to find the love of my life, what I realized in that journey was who I needed to become was a woman who really owned my inner worth. And so the actual hashtag Queen of Worth came later on in my journey. I coach women in love for many years. And so I would have them claim that, I'm worth it. Right. And so anyway, it was kind of born out of that in the beginnings of helping women to claim that they were worthy of love. And then that translated to business because as a woman owns her worth and her confidence and the gifts that she's here to share, then she is able to really bring in the love of her life, the ideal clients, like whatever it is that she's wanting. I believe everything is energy. And so our outside world is reflected by our inside world. So for me, the queen is a benevolent queen. She's not a take them off, cut off their heads. I mean, she's very much the queen is one who knows her domain and she's confident and humble, actually. And she's really here to serve. So that's what it means to me. And that's how it was born.
I really love it. And, a lot of these things translate as you first started maybe in the relationship area, but it is essentially, it's applicable across relationship, business, and all that. And so sometimes I think women may not realize that they have this, I don't want to say card problem, but we having this issue of self-worth, and it shows up in different ways, right? Sometimes people may not feel like asking for a pay rise or even asking for a babysitter.
Yes. Yes.
Little things like that. So I know you talk about this story 1,000 times, but I really love your double your rate story, because that really, when people from the outside looking at, oh, Dr. Kelly Schuh, they wouldn't think you would have a problem with worth or asking for the right, amount of rate or whatever. So tell us about that story, because it's very applicable for a lot of people in the daily life.
Yes. Yes. So I was at a point in my business as a coach. I was about 5 years into this, and I was $130,000 in debt. I had a 5-year-old daughter, and we had gone from a dual income family, my husband and I, to a single income family. Really, my husband was very much supporting me. And we reached a point where even though I had the Amazon bestseller, I had the community. From the outside, I was looking really successful. Dr. Kelly, oh yeah, she's done this, and she's created the course, and she's done launches and all the things women are told to do. And at the end of the day, literally more money was going out by the time I paid my website person and my coach and the this and the that. I was at a point where I was ready to give up, and I didn't want to give up, but we would have potentially lost the mortgage. And so it was a real turning point in my life. And I had been working with this coach, and we had been working for a couple months, and I had worked with tons of coaches, but this particular day, she said, Dr. Kelly, here's the deal. If you want to create big change, I dare you to double your rates. And my heart sunk, and you get those little butterflies in your tummy. And I thought, she's crazy. She's absolutely crazy. Like, why would anyone pay twice as much of what I'm charging? And she said, you know what, you have what so many women have. You overgive, and you give. You have a huge heart. You want to make a difference, but it's not working for you. So she asked me, what's the worst that can happen? I said, well, I guess people say no. And she said, absolutely. So she challenged me for 30 days to double my rates. And I remember I got off that call. I said yes, that I would take on the challenge, because I love the challenge. And the first person I shared it with was, of course, my husband. And his first response was, you're crazy. And I said, I know, I think she's crazy too. But it was sink or swim. I mean, I needed to either quit and finally give it up after 5 years, or go back to chiropractic. And I love chiropractic. So that was the year I doubled my rates. I tripled my business. And the real gift was who I became on the inside. I became the CEO of my dreams. I knew that it was that internal journey that would make all the difference. And so that was the moment that my life changed.
Goosebumps. And isn't it that was the moment it felt like when you did this? It felt like the queen was born, wasn't it? Because the
queen was born.
You really,
and the crown was really heavy. I was like, oh my gosh, I don't feel worthy of a crown. So I've had to grow into the queen of. I'm still growing. I still have growth edges.
And then I think they say the day you become too comfortable in your crown is actually the day when you are too, maybe too proud, or you no longer have your feet on the ground. It's the moment when you feel, I could do this, as in with that attitude. But having that, it's actually helpful. Read books, watch documentary about, Queen Elizabeth. Even when she first added the crown, she was also freaking out.
Exactly.
It's normal. But I love the story, because my work is often connecting the internal, the intuitive, the feminine wisdom, what we know, what the universe around us, the spiritual side of things, but also strategy, the real work that is smart and effective. And I think, I don't want to analyze this, but in a way, it felt like, you had the groundwork, you done the work, you have the programs.
I had done so much work.
You have done the groundwork, and that's a good foundation. So when that pivot, when your internal, stepping up, when you feel, yep, I can charge double, then everything clicked together and things were successful. But without either, like if you didn't have the foundation, just tripling or doubling or even adding $20, it's not going to change anything because you have to have both, right? And that's what I
Exactly.
find the beauty of it. I think that's what you do in your work. You help women build the foundation and the actual work, but also the spiritual side, the internal side. I think
Absolutely.
that's why it's a recipe for success. It's the both. I call it two half into one whole.
It is actually, as you say that, I see like a heart, right? You've got,
Yeah.
it is a beautiful marriage of the masculine and the feminine. And so I love that feminine space of meditation and guidance and that inner game and the spiritual piece, right? And that is married beautifully with strategy. And when we can bring those two together, the divine masculine, the divine feminine, that's where the real magic happens. And I see so many female entrepreneurs that all they know or all they think to go to is one or the other. And I see programs out there that rely too heavily on one or the other. And these women think that, you know, strategy doesn't work or meditation doesn't work. And really, it's that beautiful dance. It's that dance of honoring the masculine and the feminine. And what I tell women is to lean back. Like, we are meant to receive. We are receiving beings, and that relates to that worthiness piece.
Love it, 100%. And Carl Jung called the sacred union, the divine masculine, divine feminine, but is within us as well as in a conventional marriage, right? So beautiful stuff. Now, in a more practical terms, we talk about this maybe a bit in an intellectual way of looking at this concept. So in your work, when you work with women, as she said, many people are give. They don't know how to ask or receive, sometimes unconsciously, sometimes consciously, because they think I can't do that. So what's happening? What happened to us? Since when we become like this? Or more practically, how can we put a stop to it? You took like a 5-year pivot, like this is single swim moment. But maybe let's try to think about something we can do so we don't have to wait until that moment.
Absolutely. So your question is like, what would be like a baby step?
Yeah, baby step. Or like help people to see, oh, I'm doing this. I need to consciously, name it, claim it, and change it.
Absolutely. So one of the simplest things that a woman can do, what I find is part of this receiving, we need to build our muscle around that. And so many women reflect back like compliments, acknowledgments, right? Like if you said, oh my gosh, you look beautiful today, instead of taking a moment to really receive it, many of the women that I work with, they're right fast to give it back. Oh, you look beautiful too, right? So like the very simplest thing of noticing when someone's trying to give to you, it's a gift, it's a smile, it's an acknowledgement, it's a reward, to take a moment to pause and really receive it. And that's one of the baby steps that I teach my women, to just start noticing where the universe is wanting to give to you, and it is giving to you, but you're doing one of these. It's like, I want it, but no, maybe I'm not worthy. And so that really is like a baby step, is I tell women, start to receive what's already the universe is giving up to you, and yet you've been blocking it or reflecting it.
I love it, because often when we do this, you also, once we hear what Dr. Kelly Schuh just said, when we say, oh no, it's your beautiful, then you suddenly realize, oh, I'm doing it. Because sometimes we don't even realize we're doing it. We
don't even realize it. Yeah, absolutely.
And how would people say, okay, let's say I just met you and that sounds great. Well, so how does it translate into money game? Like, receiving compliments. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
How does it translate into our money and worth in your mind? How do you explain to people when people ask you that?
Yeah. So how it relates to money and worth is that there are certain practices that we know, when done consistently, will create and generate more money. So the simple thing is, as you could tell from my story, is I was challenged to double my rates. And that's not necessarily a recommendation that I would make to somebody, but I tend to do things big and I jump in and make big changes. But again, the little things. So some fundamentals will be gratitude, right? The universe isn't going to serve up more money if you're not really grateful for what's already here. So gratitude is one of the practices that we know consistently helps to open up the container and the capacitor to receive. The other thing is look at the relationship that you have to money. And what I tell women is fall in love with money like it were your lover. Why do I say that? Is because how we relate to it, it really is a relationship. And that which you focus on and pay attention to expands. So it can be the smallest things like paying your utility bill, like being in real gratitude and be like, oh my gosh, I love to pay my bills. I love to pay my taxes because I'm getting something in receiving around that. And then paying attention to your money. So we have people that are avoiders, like, I don't want to look at the bills. I don't want to look at them. Taking a moment and really start tracking. So every single day, like even in the beginning, if you make it a point to like, look at the money coming in, if it's not there, imagine it being there. So we need to focus on money so that it can expand. So basic money principles, like if you had a lover that you never paid attention to him or her, are you really going to sustain a relationship? No. Like it gives some give and take. So you got to be willing to focus on it. And if you're looking at the bank account and it's not where you want it to be grateful for where you are, but imagine where could you be? Set a mini goal. Okay, 30 days from now, if I could increase my income by 10%, what might that look like? Well, maybe you could sell a bunch of shoes that you don't use anymore. You know, I mean, it could be a number of different things. So gratitude, fall in love with money like it's your lover, knowing that money won't buy the happiness, but just by merely bringing focus to it, it will expand. And acting as if, focusing on what you do want, not what you don't want. So those are just like a couple things as we relate to money.
Totally makes sense. And I love the gratitude piece. And it's so relatable because in our story, whenever we get a capital tax bill,
yes,
which is, my husband, oh my God, they tax us so much. It's only this amount left after they take away the tax. So he go on and on and on. And it's true, right? But I was like, listen, you got tax to pay because you have this income to come in. So even though that doesn't feel good to give that bit away, you still have this much to appreciate. But how often do we not focus on this? The one that we can keep? We focus on how much we have to give away. I think that's
such a great point. It's a fantastic point. Yeah. And I remember years ago learning that as human beings, we have a survival brain, right? And so what we often will bring more energy to is avoiding pain versus seeking pleasure. So said differently, when it comes to money, it is said that if you were to ask a group of people and you would say, would you put more, where would you put more energy? Would you put more energy into keeping $1,000 that someone's trying to steal, or go out and make the $1,000? And most people would say, oh my gosh, no, I know they're going to try to steal it, I'm going to do everything that I can that they're not going to steal it. Versus just go out and make it. Right? That key distinction is am I coming from pain, avoiding the next step of tax bracket, or am I just going to go out and make more? Like I honestly, I'm not kidding you. I love paying taxes.
Yeah, the more you pay, it's better.
Right? If my income goes to the next level and they increase my tax bracket, it means I made more money. Exactly. Fantastic.
Yeah.
And so anyway, it's like, how are we relating to those things? Are we coming from abundance and what you want and pleasure seeking? Or are you coming from the pain and survival and fear and scarcity? So that's a big distinction there.
It's so important. And that's why I guess we're coaches and we work with coaches. We have coaches, friends, and that's what we're here for. Because to be very honest, not every husband or wife would tend to think this way, but when you work with a coach, we tend to look at it differently, and it makes all the difference, because then I remind myself, next time when this conversation come up, focus on what we get to keep.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
My next question. So I got winds about you have this amazing prosperity cycle breakthrough session that it's about human design chart reading for prosperity specifically. So I don't know much about it, but it sounds super cool. Can you tell us a bit about it?
Yes. Oh my gosh. This is like the insider. So currently I don't actually do any marketing around this. I generally leave it for my high-end clients, but let me tell you what it is. It is the prosperity keys for business. And what it is I do a reading for the human design chart. And the human design chart is a blend of astrology and the Kabbalah and the energy centers of the system and the I Ching. So 4 ancient traditions all brought together in one. And so I am able to look at a woman's chart and determine, first of all, how can she more accurately make decisions in her business? I can actually look at the circuitry and go, oh, you need to do this, this, and this. And so it really helps her to really tap into her intuition or however she's wired. So if you can make clearer, more accurate decisions in your business, things will just flow. We're also able to look at how she specifically is designed to make money. So we give her a money mantra that she can go into meditation that specifically will activate and ignite her ability to create a quantum leap in her wealth. And then the other thing that we look at is structure. Some women are meant to be one-on-one in structure in their business model. Some women are meant to be more in partnership. Some people are meant to have huge teams. So instead of trying to build something that somebody tells you to build it, we actually look at what are your unique fingerprints in the universe so that you're delivering your purpose of why you're here and doing it in a way where the cash comes easily because you're working from how you were designed to work. So it's funny that you asked that because it is something that I'm starting to leak out a little bit. Yeah, right now I do those readings just for my high ends, but I just started doing them for $350 a session for someone that really wants to fast track.
I guess you kind of just testing it out, isn't it? Because it's like something so amazing. And I mean, I can see how this could be really helpful. It's like, if you know your blood type, is it useful?
Right. Exactly.
If you know your unconscious pattern, especially about what you're afraid of or what you're good at, that's super useful. This is kind of like that specifically for money, prosperity. So I think it's super juicy and fun.
Thank you.
And it's like, I mean, I can't believe you are offering it like standalone in this accessible way. I'm sure. That's why I said I got wins, because
it's so funny. It's like, oh wow, I can't believe she's asking that. But yeah, because I've been using it with my high-end clients for about a year. And yeah, somebody asked me, you know how it started leaking out? It started leaking out because I was in a holiday gala, and there was a woman that asked me, she goes, would you be willing to give one of those things that you've been doing with your high-end clients? And I was like, yeah. So it raised money as a fundraiser for grant money for female entrepreneurs. So that's how this whole thing started leaking out. So, but it's profound. It really is profound.
But isn't it the best way? Instead of we sometimes like trying to have campaigns and launches, they have this place, right? We have to do the groundwork so we know how it works. But sometimes it's just like the universe saying that, hey, Kelly, do more of those because that help people. Like, has to be one of those things. It's like, but I think it's really exciting because I just tapped into astrology maybe over a year ago. I mean, I'm not using it to the T, but I love to know a little bit more about the planetary movement, the pattern, and how it impacts me. For me, it's really interesting just to give me some heads up and why am I feeling this way or when things may start moving. It really helps me. I mean, I've been already doing sort of the feminine cycle productivity planning for a long time, which is observing the moon and your inner cycle. And that, it felt like it's just kind of chatting with your sister and cousins all together, right?
Yes, absolutely.
This is amazing. So I really love it. And I know it's a bit of a secret, but I couldn't help myself but to get some inside calls. But I think it's really exciting. I don't know much about I Ching or Ayurveda, but I know a little bit of astrology, and I didn't know you can combine them all together. But I think it's just beautiful.
It's so cool. It's so cool. Yeah, to be able to look at a chart, and what so many women will say is they feel honored and really heard, and it confirms what their intuition has been saying. And yet maybe they've not been following it. And when you don't follow, when you try to show up in business or in life in a way that you're not designed to, you're going to be frustrated, you're going to be angry, you're not going to make the money. So it's like all these roadblocks get put up by the universe. And yeah, these readings are like a deep confirmation. And most of the women that I work with are they're very awake women. So it's like to like see it, it's like coming home, if that makes any sense. Like,
Totally.
oh, this makes so much sense. And it really aligns a lot. You know, as in the past, I was a chiropractor. That's where the doctor comes from. And I tell women, so my job as a chiropractor really was to align the brain with the body and the body with the brain, so the body could do what it was meant to do. It was a realignment. And now I'm doing it energetically with women and money and their business, like get them realigned, and then it flows. It's not, we don't have to work so hard. You know, I think that there needs to be a breakdown of how like globally, how we do business. And we really have been taught a more patriarchal way, which is about competition. It's about profits over people. It's this idea of scarcity, of there's not enough for everyone to be abundant. And I really love this idea of what if we were to do it a different way? What if we were like aligned with our purpose and collaborating and really being compassionate about people, and that we're all different. And so I love seeing that unique spark and that fingerprint, and then getting that all in alignment. So
I love it so much. That's why I was so excited to interview, because I think a lot of things that we do and say and believe are very similar. That alignment, and how cool is that you're a chiropractor and training in a medical scientific way, and then now you're aligning in a different, using different methodology, a different vocabulary, but essentially we are alignment. It's all we talk about. And what I love about what you just said was, you know, you talk about some people may love to work one-to-one, and some may be groups that you want to work with teams. Some people like to be a more solopreneur. I think it's so important to give yourself that sort of, that's who I am or what I like, and that will work. Because a lot of coaching out there say, so you do this, you do that, and that's how you can scale. So there's this very structural, very masculine way of how to succeed. And then some people are just not suited for even talking in front of the camera. You know, like they say, everybody say you have to do videos. And then you're like, oh, I'm a loser because I don't want to do videos. But then if you know who you are, you don't have to give yourself that pressure.
Yeah. It was really important for me to create something that allowed for that uniqueness, because I think that everyone has a purpose on the planet, and we all have a unique fingerprint. And so when we can unlock that and have a coach really like hear you, like deeply hear what your needs are and what your strengths are, then the way is shown very Zen-like. And I remember being in a high-end mastermind. This was years ago. And I joined the mastermind because I was ready to pivot from the work that I was doing to what was in my heart for the new thing that I wanted to do. And I fought and I fought. I say fought, like energetically. The coach, again, I spent $25,000 just to get at the table. And so here I am in a table of maybe 10 women in Hawaii. And this coach was like, for 2 years was telling me, no, you need to, it's the old business. Go back to the old business. Like, you were so successful. Why wouldn't you? And so I know what it feels like to be trying to like forced into something that your heart's not in. And so I had to suffer so that my clients don't have to suffer. And so I don't believe that there's a one way fits all. As you said, some people, they're natural in front of a camera. And there's other people, they're like strategists that, you know, can in the background, like crunch numbers and right. Like to be honored, to really be honored is what those are the women that I'm here to serve. I call them sacred rebels. It's like, we know we don't fit in, and we're tired of coaches trying to tell us like, oh, you know, you have to follow this process. So there's many ways to success. And I really deeply honor a woman's unique gifts and her journey.
Well, I mean, thank you for being at that table and share your struggle, because here's the thing, when you pay that much money, you have to sort of believe that person or the system is some level. And you have to detach and say, that doesn't work for me. That's hard to say. That's
so
not
hard.
for me. It's like you're in a relationship, it's kind of okay, but it's not really feeling right, but you have to break up out of the blue. And you're like, I can't do that. But that's so hard.
Yeah. And here's the other thing. It's like within that group, I was sold okay, everyone at the table is making at least 6 figures or above. I show up and find out there's probably of a group of maybe 10, maybe only including myself, a couple other women. Like the parameters that they said, they didn't honor them. And so I'm a stickler. If I were to have a rule like that, like you have to at least make 6 figures to be in this group, like I'm going to be a hard ass around that. Like I really honor integrity and word. And that broke my heart too. And so anyway, as you said, it can be really hard when there's someone so much further down the path that's trying to tell you to do something that's your intuition's like, no, and it's screaming and it's fighting. And we as women, we often do this. We don't honor where our intuition is like, no, this is not right. And so, I say that business is a sacred spiritual journey, and it truly is. So the lessons that I learned in those 2 years, I had to learn, not only for me, but the women I'm now here serving.
Wow, I love it. Okay. So to wrap this up, I have a few rapid fire. I know you asked this question to your community, and I want to hear you answering it.
Yes.
Okay, first question. What can you do now that you could not do a year ago?
Honestly, surrender like never before. And I might get teary-eyed. It came from the moment I had just found out my mom had cancer last year. And it wasn't even 24 hours later. And my go-to when I process emotions is meditation and running. And those are just two, or yoga. And I went out from my run. I just had to process. And I fell and I broke my ankle, and literally, boom, I'm grounded. Like physically grounded, emotionally grounded, and all the tears came. And I realized how vulnerable and helpless I was in that moment, and that I couldn't fix this one. Like it wasn't my job to fix it. And so last year was one of the toughest years of my life. Without going into it, Spirit really told me, like forced me to stop, so that I could learn to receive on a totally different level, very feminine, because I'm an inner warrior. Like I'll like make things happen. And it was the first time in my life where I couldn't make things different. I had to really be with all of the emotions and everything. So I now can say that I can, not that it's easy. I have had an experience of surrender like never before.
See, running, meditation, movement, stillness. We live in a duality. You have to honor both. And sometimes we think we want to do this, but you actually need to be this.
Exactly.
Funny you said that. I had a similar story a few years before your story. Similar thing. That's my dad. And instead of running, I just keep working. I have 3 jobs. I just work and work and work until I got pneumonia.
Oh, yeah. Exactly.
Running, stillness.
Yeah.
But we learn from it, because then you kind of like marked by this experience. So there's beauty in it. So
there is such beauty in that. Yeah. It's that feminine. It was a deep honoring of the feminine that, I always say, if you're not getting your lessons, the universe will make sure that you are. So I say, like, let's get it earlier so that we don't have to struggle so much, because we really don't have to struggle as much as we struggle. If we can catch the signs earlier, it creates more grace and flow. And it doesn't mean that life isn't going to throw you curveballs, because it will. But really honoring that there's a time to be still.
Yes. Okay. Last rapid fire. Yes. So this one is from me. What makes you truly happy and feeling fulfilled these days?
Oh, that's a good one. Well, I'll tell you something totally new that's really fun. I now go to something called a what's it called? It's a float tank. And
Ah,
so sensory, I was trying to come up with the word sensory deprivation tank, and it looks like a tomb. Like it's
I
so weird. It's
know.
like this thing with water. It's warm water, and you float in about a foot of water. It's
And they
salt
cover it,
water.
right?
And the cover goes down, and you can listen to music if you want, and you can have it lit up if you want. I go for total blackness, no sound, no nothing. And 90 minutes goes by like that. And I have been putting this in my schedule now 1 to 2 times a month. And I've been using it around the moon. So I'll do new moon or full moon in that place of truly letting go and receiving all the channeling and all, like, I don't have to do anything. And I'll tell you, it goes by so fast. I think this month I might even try to do a back to back, because I love just being in that place of no thingness.
So you
And it's,
don't get scared. I get
no,
scared
I
in
love
a,
it.
like, so you're in a tank, you're floating. You can't drown,
Yes.
is it? Like it's not deep enough. You cannot drown in this. So it's
You can't drown it. No,
okay.
no, no.
Okay, it's perfectly safe. Total darkness. So what do you do?
Total
Like you don't
darkness.
sleep. You
So
don't think.
it's like, oh, sometimes I fall asleep, but a lot of times I journey. I have kind of this shamanic journey. Things come to me. So yeah,
Music,
it's
no
like
music.
I choose no music in the place that I go. You could have music, but I literally, it's like being in the womb. It really is.
Wow.
And I'm very sensitive. And the older that I get, in some ways I become more sensitive, because I see things, I'll see colors, I'll see energies, I'll see a lot of things. And to have such a sensitive system when things are coming at you all the time, and it seems like the world's going faster and faster and faster, to give myself that gift of nobody needs me in that moment. And I don't need to do anything or be anything, that I can just float. That's my new place to supercharge.
Wow, that sounds amazing. I may need to try that. I do yin yoga. I found a teacher that
Yes.
really like. So at first I hated yin yoga, but then as I grow older, I started to like it. But then what happened was I found that my best content or program comes out after yin yoga class. Like I literally just, oh, maybe I should do that. Oh, maybe I should
Yeah.
write this. And suddenly things just flow. And I thought, oh, maybe. So then I start to go to yin yoga all the time, because I think, well, like I can start taking notes after
Really?
I take a notepad because I'm going to have ideas. So it was so
Absolutely.
productive. It's crazy, but
It is.
love.
It talks about, I know Wayne Dyer, I followed him for years, and he would
Mhm,
talk about the gap. And the
mhm.
gap can be even just that moment where the in breath stops before you take the out breath. And it really is, that really is a metaphor. That tank time is the gap, right? And often the magic happens when you're not trying to make things happen. And again, it's very feminine,
Mhm.
and it's such a gift. So generally when I come out of the float tank, I take my journal, and there's a little back room, and I'll journal. Like the other night, it was like there was a snowstorm, and my daughter calls me. It's like at 9:30 at night, and I'd been there for, at that point, almost 3 hours, because I was journaling. I was getting all of these downloads. So yeah, the gap is such a, and where it's, whether it's yoga or just quiet time, or for some women it's, or some people it's playing music, listening to music, it can be a number of different things, but accessing, and as an American culture, like Americans in general, I don't think we're very good at being still. So it really is a reprogramming of valuing that downtime.
Beautiful. That's, I think, is the perfect place for us to wrap up this call. And so now we talk about a lot of very interesting things, and I think people would love to get in touch with you. So what's the best way for people to connect with you online?
Yeah, I would say right now there's so many different ways, but if you go to my Instagram account, you can follow me at Dr. Kelly Schuh. It's just my name. And we're constantly posting things. We do have a group. It's a free group called the Queen of Worth group. And we'd love to have you and have your voice in the room if you're a female coach, consultant, or soulpreneur that just wants to be in a sacred sisterhood, like energetically held in your grace. We would love to have you join our community. So that would be the Queen of Worth on Facebook group, and then
No
Instagram.
problem. I will put the link on the show notes so people can go to both. to check it out. So thank you so much. Today has been a wonderful conversation.
Thank you.